Howdy, it's Jim Arado, and this is very late February 2022, and we are heading towards one of my favorite hangouts when I was younger, Calhoun, Kentucky. I was back in the area recently, and I thought I would just take a little video as we drive through this area. I grew up not too far from here. I went to school in Owensboro, but Calhoun was a little bit closer. In fact, I went to school in Owensboro. My neighbor Paul, who lived walking distance from my house, maybe half a mile, he actually went to school in McLean County down here. But yeah, I guess I probably could have. Well, we lived in Davis County, but we would come down here a lot. And my buddy Paul actually went to school down here, even though he was my neighbor. And just a neat little town, and I miss it. I miss this area, and thought I would just say a little bit about it. Up here on the right, there used to be a barn that was fallen in, and it was there for decades. Looks like they finally took care of it. Up here on the left, right there, is Dr. Strange's old office. I know a new chiropractor has taken that over, but I knew Dr. Strange. He was a good fella, kind of ahead of his time. I have a friend who's a chiropractor, and I was telling him about Dr. Strange. That is his name. He's not a comic book character. He really was Dr. Strange. And he believes he may have been practicing when chiropractics were illegal. I think in the 60s and 70s, in certain areas, it was illegal. Up here on the left, one of those shops used to be like an electronics store, and I remember being in high school, and my dad bought our first VCR there. Really nice fellow, ran that place, and just a neat little spot. And I remember my dad talking him down a little bit on the VCR, and he talked him into throwing in a few blank tapes, which, if you remember when VCRs first came out, like I do, blank tapes were gold. You could tape your favorite show on them. It was a very big deal at the time. We passed the McLean County meat locker on the right just a little bit ago, and I remember my dad trading cows for burgers down there. We'd drop off a cow, and about a week or two later, we'd get some burgers. Never figured out how that worked, but I try not to think about it too much, but I remember that happening. And yeah, just a neat little town. We would drive through Calhoun on our way to Madisonville or Greenville. My dad, my cousins, we would sometimes go to Greenville to the flea market on Tuesdays. It was a big deal. And we would drive through Calhoun. We'd usually stop at a gas station and get a pop and some peanuts or something like that. Always loved Madisonville. I just always thought of it as a neat little town that doesn't get the respect it deserves. And Hanson, I like Hanson right by Madisonville too. They've got a great old bookstore that I need to get to again soon. I haven't been there in a while. Muster Funeral Home, there on the left. Remind me to tell you about that in a moment. On the right, there was Little B's Pizza. Also, an old movie rental place used to be right through there. And they would actually show movies. They had a little theater in the back. And when I was a little kid, for 6 RC bottle caps, you could go in and see a movie on certain days. I think the sheriff's department there used to be a doctor's office. There was a really nice doctor there. I went to him a couple times when I was a kid. I can't think of his name right now, but he was always a really nice fella. Some historic stuff down here in Calhoun I'd like to mention. Yeah, like that place. I might try to get to that on a different video on a different day. But I just thought for today I would mention a few of my personal memories coming through Calhoun. The Battle of Sacramento, they do a reenactment. Well, before COVID, they were doing one every year. And it kind of, the battle, some of the engagement, some of the stuff that happened, stretches to Calhoun. If you're doing the driving tour, somewhere I've got a map of that driving tour. There's actually a couple sites to see in Calhoun relating to the Battle of Sacramento, and I'd like to do another video of that on another day, but just thought I would tell some personal stories today. Right here is the Green River, which is way up at the moment. There was a big rain that came through the day or two before I took this video, and you can see that the Green River is way up, the bridge going over into Rumsey. Check it out, though. We're going to look at it for a little bit because you can see some debris floating down the river. That's not the Loch Ness Monster. A fun story, my dad When he was a little boy, this would have been probably in the probably early 50s, possibly even late 40s. He was down here with his brother. Yeah, check that out. I envy these people that live in these houses along the river. That is just, that would be a nice place to retire at some point. Yeah, look at that. Anyway, my dad and his brother and my granddad were down here one day, and they thought they saw what they thought was a car that had gone into the Green River. And they thought they saw a car in the Green River. They watched it for a little bit. They were taking their shirts off, getting ready to swim out to it to see if they could help the people in the car. And as they watched, the thing wiggled around a little bit, flopped its tail up, and went on into the river. Now, my dad swore that was the truth. Did my dad tell tall fish tales? Yes, absolutely. But he said that was a true story. They saw a fish that was so big they thought it was a car at first, just the way it was hovering at near the top of the water. And I do remember hearing, just kind of, rumors of fish in the Green River so big they could swallow a person. I don't know if that's ever been scientifically proven or if they've ever found one, but it seems like I remember hearing those stories. If you know anything about that, let me know, or if you know of any other good, if you know any good creepy stories about Calhoun or the Green River, let me know. I love the kind of big fish monster kind of stories. Up here we're looking at Jay's Restaurant. Yeah, Jay's Restaurant right there in front of us. Jay's. A great place to get a burger. And up here on the left there's a restaurant my dad used to love. I never got to go there, but my dad loved this place right here on the left too. And I've had other friends tell me that's a nice place. I'm going to have to make a point to check that out. But if I'm in Calhoun, I want to go to Jay's. Jay's is just so perfect and tasty. And, yeah, I miss it a lot. Totally unhealthy, but totally delicious. And I try to stop there 2 or 3 times a year. Usually when I'm in this area, I try to go there and get a burger. It was kind of early in the morning when I was here this particular day, so I did not have the thrill of stopping at Jay's place for a burger. But yeah, they know how to make them there, and they've been there forever. And I'm not sure how long, but ever since I was a little kid. Driving over the bridge into Rumsey, we're going to turn around and come back around. But yeah, we would drive through Calhoun, go to the Greenville Flea Market. Used to love that place as a kid. They always had baseball cards and comic books. My dad was always buying and selling and trading farm animals and things of that nature. Always a good crowd there in my memory, and we had a lot of fun. And we would always pass through Calhoun going there. Of course, if you keep going down this road some, you're not that far from Paradise, Kentucky. Made famous by the John Prine song, one of my all-time favorites. I got to see John Prine perform there, 91 maybe, 92, I can't remember, as part of the big Everly Brothers Homecoming Festival. Great show. I got to see John Prine. First time I saw Prine. Got to see the Everly Brothers. I remember James Best, Roscoe P. Coltrane, was there. He was actually related to the Everly Brothers, and he came out on the stage and did his thing. Sure missed James Best. Always hear good stories about him. And I know he also had some roots in southern Indiana, and I've talked to people that knew him from those locations. Just a good human and an exceptional actor. And I think on the Dukes of Hazzard he kind of was playing below his skill level. And you see him pop up on Twilight Zone and all sorts of good old shows. Going back into Calhoun, wanted to mention there was the little movie movie rental place I pointed out. They would have during the summer when I was a kid 6 RC bottle caps. You could see a movie for free. If you didn't have the bottle caps, I think they charged you 50 cents. Just a nice community thing they used to do. I don't know when they quit doing that, but it was just a really, really sweet little thing, and I go there with some of my friends. And before I forget, I wanted to tell a quick story about the Muster Funeral Home coming up here. We passed it earlier. We'll pass it again here on the right shortly. Very nice little family-ran funeral home here in Calhoun. Unfortunately, well, fortunately, we've had the good people there have done funerals for some of my loved ones, and they're just really sweet little people. Quick story: my wife and I like to hang out in Indianapolis sometimes, and we were at the one of my favorite little subsections of Indianapolis. We were in the Keystone area, and we spent the night in a hotel there one night, and we were down kind of. They have a little area where you can order food and stuff, and we started chatting with a fellow who was also ordering food, just a nice man, and we started doing the whole "hey, so where you from" kind of thing. And he said he was from Calhoun, and I let him know, well, I grew up in that area. And we started talking, and it was David Muster of Muster Funeral Homes. And, I started telling him where I lived, what road I grew up on. He started describing my house to me. I mean, he literally knew the color of my dad's barn, and I was just really impressed. He's a very observant person, and he knew some of my family members. It was almost like a little bit of a family reunion there in Indianapolis. Just kind of randomly bumping into David Muster, and I just have a lot of respect for them. They're good people, just good quality people, and it was so nice bumping into him again randomly in Indianapolis, and I would always feel comfortable with those good people handling any sort of funeral arrangement for people I care about. I just wanted to mention that real quick. Going on up a little bit too, kind of heading out of what I think of as the Calhoun area. I remember my dad when I was a little kid, before I cared about wrestling. I would care about it later as I grew up, as all little boys in this area love professional wrestling. But I remember my dad going to the fairgrounds down here to watch wrestling one night. And it seems like, man, I want to say maybe in the 80s or 90s, there might have been some Bigfoot sightings, kind of in the more rural parts of Calhoun. I don't remember much about that. If you remember, let me know. I'd love to hear a story. But yeah, there's Calhoun. I just wanted to do a quick drive through and put up a video about one of my favorite towns that I kind of grew up around, and tip my hat to them. Yeah, so that's all. If you live in Calhoun, if I missed something, let me know. If you know any good strange stories about Calhoun, let me know. And thanks for watching.